What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norman Radd89 here, bringing you another video, and you know what time it is today. We are here to talk about Freddy vs. Jason, the epic battle between two Titan horror icons. Man, this was quite the ride. This came out in 2003. It's directed by Ronnie Yu, and we're going to get into today the positives, my negatives, my rating, and I'm going to send you all home, and probably a little bit of story time, too, behind this film, because I got a really good story about the first time I saw this film. So let's get into this video. And of course, we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, you need to go run out and watch it, then come back so we can talk about it. Let's get into this. Roll it. Freddy vs. Jason is the 2003 film that brought together two of the biggest horror icons to fight. And I want to say, probably like in the late 80s, early 90s, people were already buzzing, talking about this kind of thing, wishing like, oh, how it would be, you know, thinking about, oh, what would the battle look like between Freddy versus Jason, because they were like the biggest icons at the time, like in the 80s, you know what I mean? Jason had a movie coming out every year, and Freddy was just making huge amounts of money in the box office. So when 2003 came around and we were finally hearing news about this film, getting trailers, and we knew Freddy vs. Jason was coming. They were talking about it in Fangoria, and we got a release date, and I believe ours here in the United States was August 15th, I think, 2003 is when it did, and it's actually a day before my birthday. So that's what is my story, leads into kind of my story about this film is this was my birthday movie the year it came out. My mom took me, my best friend, to the theaters to see it. And my mom's a Fredhead. Like, that's what she is. She's a Fredhead for life. And me and my best friend were huge Jason fans. So it was us going to the car, you know, my mom taking us, and we were just like talking trash the whole way. Like, who was going to win? Jason's going to come out on top. And like, of course, my mom's like, no, Freddy. Freddy's the top dog. What are you talking about? Like, it was a fun time, and it was one of those like 11 o'clock, like midnight showings the night before, so it was really fun time. Packed theater, everybody's screaming. It's one of those experiences that it's always in my top experiences. This might not be one of the greatest movies of all time, but it's one of my greatest theater experiences because of how involved and how engaging the whole entire audience was with this film. Well, let's start talking about the positives and stuff and get right into it. And one main positive is I think they find a good way to get Jason and Freddy together. It's not overcomplicated and it's not wild or crazy. Like, over the years, I was trying to think like, oh, how would they do this? How's they going to get Jason from Crystal Lake to here to that and, you know, deal with Elm Street? And it's not that big a deal at all. They don't even think about it that much. They get them together really quick, really easy, and then we're on with the rest of the story. The thing about this film is I think there are some badass kills. Like, I know the CGI can be a little wonky in some parts, but the kills, I think the kills are really creative, and we have some badass ones like that one that Jason gets, or sequence, basically a whole sequence that Jason gets when he's in the cornfield, and those kids like light him on fire, and he starts going through just slaughtering all those children at the party. Like, that was a wild one for sure. Another main positive with this film is the fact that I never thought this would happen. This is one of those movies that, like, when you were a kid and you were talking about it with your friends on the schoolyard, it was like you created the idea. You never thought in your like wildest imagination that you would ever see this on screen. So the day that they actually announced it and you finally saw footage, it's just exciting that this film exists. And I know we never got a second one, and that kind of sucks. But yeah, it's really exciting that we just got this film and that it exists. And like I said, it has such a way about it. And mainly for me, it's heavy nostalgia because, like I said, it came out my birthday month. Such a great theater experience. But yeah, Robert Englund is great in this film. Like, Freddy brings it for sure. But Jason Voorhees, they changed his character a little bit. And we'll get into that when we talk about the negatives. But yeah, this film, I never really thought it would ever exist. Another favorite and positive thing about this film, and like I said, my favorite thing is probably that third act. The third act does deliver heavy when they're battling and duking it out once Jason is able to, or once she's able to pull Freddy into the real world and Jason and him start duking it out. Oh man, they have some really cool sequences. It gets bloody, arms ripped off, eyes poked out, like machete stabbed through people. It's top notch. It's a really good third act ending sequence for sure. I even like that look, that Demon Freddy look when he comes out of the water and he comes jumping out. Like, cool stuff all going on in that third act for sure. Let's start talking about the negatives, because truly there are some negatives with this film. It isn't a perfect film. I really do wish it was, but there are some negatives. And one huge negative for sure is the fact that the CGI does not age very well. This one takes place not too long after Jason X, so it's like those two films, they have that way about them where it's the CGI and the technology wasn't meeting the level of creativity that directors and writers were putting on the screen yet. Another negative with this film is the acting can be subpar. There's a couple really good actors in this film that do a really good job, but then there's others, like the majority of them are just subpar, lame actors. So it's like when you kind of look at it, it does stay true to the slasher form. You know what I mean? But they're not that fun to spend time with, so that's the kind of problem. You're kind of just waiting for all these characters to die throughout this film. Another negative is how they treat Jason Voorhees in this movie. They make him afraid of water. They make him more of the sympathetic character, which is true. You could make Jason Voorhees, he is the more sympathetic out of all these characters if you were to compare him to Freddy, because Freddy's a freaking child murderer. So Jason Voorhees, you can definitely understand his side and sympathize with that more. But making him more sympathetic eye-wise, the design of Jason, all that kind of stuff, like that's what kind of sucks with this film is I'm a huge Jason fan, and he's my boy, and I don't think he's treated right in this film. Like Ronnie Yu and them did him kind of dirty in this movie, so that's another negative that sticks with this film. But overall, in my book, I still have a really good fun time with Freddy vs. Jason. I'll never forget that theater experience, and like I said, this film is very high up on me because of that reason. Like I said, it was one of the most engaging experiences, and every time I watch this movie and experience it here at home or watch it with the kids or my wife or anything, like I feel that feeling like I'm back in the theater. I can hear the audience cheering and screaming, get up, kill him, let's go. Like it was just fun. It was such a fun ride, and like I said, it's a blast. And in my book, this film's going to get an 8 out of 10, and I know that's a pretty high rating for a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of people who aren't high on this film, but you know what? This is my channel. These are my thoughts. This is what I think. And I would love to hear from all of you in the comment section. What are your thoughts and your feelings on Freddy vs. Jason? I would love, like I said, to hear from all of you, and we could chat about it. And don't forget to like and subscribe and stay tuned to the channel, because next, Friday the 13th, the remake. Have a safe and happy day, everyone. Peace out.